Good morning. As Adam said, I'm Karen Cronkright. I work at the Royal Bank in Simcoe. I've been there for about 14 years, and so a lot of changes have progressed, as we all know. And I'm here to talk about some information for seniors in regards about identity theft, and as well as just protecting what is important to you. So the first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to do, those are our topics as to who's vulnerable, why seniors are the greatest risk, why do people steal, what are some of the most common types of fraud, how to protect yourself, reporting for fraud, and then there's some resources. Now on your tables, there's a reporting for fraud sheet on here, which is what this is. So if you suspect anything, you can always, there's 1-800 numbers, and it just gives you a list of what you should be doing when it comes to financial fraud. The other one is resources, and that's available to you as well. If you have people that are accessible to computers, I know that seniors today are very well informed with their computers. My uncle was forever Skyping and emailing and everything in his 80s. So definitely seniors are well informed, which is good. And then there's a pamphlet on fraud, as well as my business card, and then my partner, who unfortunately wasn't able to come today, her business card. And she's been with the bank, Linda McRae, she's been with the bank for about 40 years. So she's seen a lot of information come and go, and she's a really excellent resource to talk to as well. Oh. Anyway, so that's okay. So the biggest risk as to who's vulnerable is everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're young or whether you're an older person or whether you're a senior. Everybody is at risk, and this is something that is becoming more and more prevalent all the time. So one of the things are who's most vulnerable is people who are dependent on others for care or assistance, people who are somewhat isolated or have conflict or connect with a limited number of people in their life, and people who are experiencing a big change in life, such as a loss of a spouse, retirement or illness, and those oftentimes can affect your social patterns. For example, in 2011, based on a total number of reported cases, Canadians between the ages of 60 and 69 were the most targeted by mass marketing fraud operations at 30%. And then Canadian victims between the ages of 50 and 59 reported the highest dollar loss because of fraud, which is very scary and it's very unfortunate. Now, why do seniors face the greatest risk? Because they have more leisure time, financial concerns, and they tend to be more trusting. It just is just part of life, unfortunately. People are living longer and often retire earlier because people are now able to have that availability to themselves to be able to retire at a younger age. By leaving more time that they are able to read their mail, take phone calls, respond to unsolicited advertisements on the internet, or visit from a stranger offering money-saving deals, no-risk investments, and big cash prizes and rewards. With the life expectancy increasing, the effects of inflation, this could raise some concerns for seniors and as to whether or not they have enough money to maintain their lifestyle, or if they're going to be able to leave an inheritance for their grandchildren, children, any other loved ones. Okay. Okay. So the next one is where motive meets opportunity. Why do people steal and who steals? And the biggest thing is with fraudulent activity, it comes down to greed. It doesn't matter whether it's a stranger, and unfortunately sometimes it's a family member. It does happen. Come on. There we go. The next one is fraud. And in today's world, with the use of technology, there are many creative ways to become a victim of fraud. Financial abuse is one of them. Identity theft, common schemes and scams, online telephone and banking fraud, debit and credit card fraud, and check fraud. Debit and credit card fraud is becoming the most popular type of fraud there is out there. And it doesn't matter whether you're a senior or you're a young person. Everybody is becoming, unfortunately, targeted on that. When I work at the bank at a daily basis, I see a lot of people coming in whose card has been compromised. It could be a well-known place, such as Eastside Mario's or an Esso gas station. And credit cards are becoming very popular as well. People are coming in and saying, you know, I made this purchase, but I didn't make one in Texas, and I didn't make one online. So that's becoming more and more popular as well. It's very, very important that when you get your bank statements and your Visa statements, to really look them over and don't wait until the next month to see if it's on. Come in immediately, and we can always go over it. It can be an account manager, it can be somebody on the front desk, and it can be any of the tellers. We can all look at it, and we can all help anybody in finding out whether this is correct or not. Now, financial abuse is a misuse of person's money or property, usually in a person in a position of trust. So let's say you become ill or injured and need someone to take care of your finances until you're better. You decide to set up a power of attorney, and there will be many benefits of a power of attorney, but unfortunately, theft by power of attorney has become a big problem. Now, financial abuse may start with the little buying of a little something for themselves. So the person who has become power of attorney, they might think that they want to buy a little something for themselves. And then gradually over time, it could turn into money missing from their account or credit being applied in their name. Sometimes it's harder to detect because they change, the person who becomes the power of attorney could change their your mailing address, and then you don't get your bills or your statements. And if you need someone to perform any banking activities on your behalf, you should talk to any of your account managers at any bank that you're at to get the appropriate amount of information and as what will best fit you as an individual. As well as, don't try to give out your PIN number. Sometimes people think that it's okay to share their PIN number, which is connected to your bank card, with your spouse or your daughter. That's a big thing that people shouldn't do. If people have joint accounts, each person has its own bank card. Each person has its own PIN number, and you are responsible for your PIN number. Because when you come into the bank to get your bank card, you've agreed not to give your PIN number out to anybody, as well as to share your bank card with anybody. Because if something happens to it and you've admitted that you've given it out, then we don't become responsible. But if you've never handed it out and you've never let anybody use it and never told anybody of your PIN number, then we can be responsible for you and we can help you out from there. Okay. Next one is a power of attorney. What is a power of attorney legally bound to do? So when you place someone in as a power of attorney, they are legally bound to pay your bills, process transactions, keep a paper trail, and look after any pension or other resources of income. Sometimes you might set them up as a co-signer on your account or create a joint account. But they are not legally allowed to put their name or anyone else's name on your account without your permission. They're not allowed to use your credit card or client card for their own expenses, or block anyone from talking to you about your finances. They are considered criminal offenses, and they should be reported to the bank and to the police. If you feel your power of attorney is taking advantage of you, inform your branch, whichever bank you go to, inform them right away, and that they will try to do something to resolve any form of financial abuse that could occur. Identity theft. Identity theft is becoming a massive thing for people. It doesn't matter, again, what age you are. It is becoming more and more pronounced for people in today's society. So what is identity theft? Identity theft occurs when someone uses your personally identifying information, like your name, your social insurance number, credit card number, without your permission to access your money, apply for loans or mortgages, apply for government benefits, or any other crimes. Theft can happen anywhere. It can happen in your mailbox, your email, over the phone, your discarded personal documents, or from your old computer hard drive. Now, email is becoming a huge one as well, trying to grab your identity from emails, trying to send you emails in regards about your bank account, saying there's something wrong with it. That's not the case. That's where, if you as soon as you see those, you want to eliminate them or report them right away. Okay. Now, I have a small case study here as to what fraud is supposed to look like. This is an example here that happened a few years ago. A Mississauga-based lawyer became suspicious when he received an application for a $425,000 remortgage for an elderly woman's home. In order to confirm his suspicions, he arranged a face-to-face meeting with the applicant, who looked nothing like the 80-year-old homeowner who she was supposed to be. Clearly seeing that this individual is using a senior's identity to gain a large sum of money, the lawyer contacted First Canadian Title, as well as the homeowner's lawyer, who set up a title insurance policy before the fraudsters could strike again. Unfortunately, as to today's date, there's been no further information or attempts to steal the homeowner's identity, and authorities continue to look into this case. But that's a case study. And I have another one that a person had come into the bank and had stated something had happened to his or her bank account. To make a long story short, what had happened is that that person had been defrauded for several thousands of dollars. Now, the bank took the initiative. We contacted fraud. We were able to go through the whole information. She, in turn, also went to the police, and this person was able to get their money back. But oftentimes, people don't get their money back, which is unfortunate. Now, common schemes and scams. This biggest one nowadays is the emergency or grandparent scam. And this occurs when someone posing as a family member or friend contacts you in urgent need of cash because of an accident or arrest while traveling abroad, and they ask you to wire or transfer money before doing so. And before doing so, you should call them. Now, I personally received an email one time from a cousin, and it stated, "I'm in Scotland, I've lost my passport, can you send me some money? Let me know right away." It was the same email address, but I recognized it as incorrect because my cousin's email used lower capital letters, or lower letters, sorry, and this one used capital letters. I immediately disregarded that email and continued on my way. But if I had thought it was urgent and really thought this was happening, I could have ended up sending her money and then been out several $100s, which is unfortunate. These are things that people, if you're really on the computer and you're receiving emails from family and members, really pay attention to the email addresses that you're getting them from. Another big one is telemarketing, and there's many people are calling from telemarketers asking to sell you this or sell you that or this big thing or that big thing. So one of the most popular scams is the 1-900 scam, where they're asked to call a phone number starting with 1-900, and in order to claim a prize, you've won. Usually you're forced to listen to some long pre-recorded message and never speaking to anybody. And then any other numbers that's starting with 1-900, 1976, or 1809, they're not toll-free. And then, of course, they convince you, and then you end up calling these numbers, and then you're out the money for the phone bill because it's just another fraudulent scam. Now, I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with the Win a Cruise one. The phone calls, you hear this buzzer, yeah, that's a huge scam, big, huge scam. There's fake charities, unfortunately, that try to take your money. This happens when someone thanks you for a pledge that you don't remember sending and pressures you to send more money. Skimming, this happens when someone makes a counterfeit copy or transcribes the numbers on the back of your credit card. And this commonly occurs at locations where the card is taken from you and swiped out of your site. So years ago, people used to hand the credit card, they would go to a machine, the waitress or whoever, and then they'd bring you back the bill. It's becoming more cautious because now when you go into restaurants, they bring the machine to you, it's there in front of you. You want to make sure that that is still happening, that you want it to be in front of you. And if it can't, if you have to go or walk with it, then walk with it. Because you want to protect your credit card. As I said, credit card scams are really huge, and it's becoming more and more. There's a lot of people that come in and they've told me that they've never been to Texas, but their credit card has been in Texas or Australia or wherever. It's becoming huge. Another one is the bait and switch, where you're at an ATM and someone distracts you. While you're distracted, your card is then switched from your card to someone else's card, and then then you end up sometimes losing money from that. Now, to continue on, let's go. Okay. Some of them are romance scams. This is becoming another one that you're hearing a little bit more of, which involves someone receiving a letter or email from a stranger who seems to be interested in a friendship or online relationship with you. After a few communications, they ask for help for you to which involves sending them money. And once the money is sent, communication suddenly ends, and you have no way of contacting or recovering your money. Advance fee scams, which are an unknown company says they'll provide you with a loan, but you need to pay a processing fee. A reputable company, of course, will never ask you for that. International lottery scam is another one, where you get an email or letter claims that you've won a lottery, and you're asked to fill out a form for your personal details, along with copies of your passport or driver's license to verify your identity. The next step usually involves opening an account with a specific bank, paying a release fee in cash. Unfortunately, it's likely that you will lose your fee and never receive any money. And then another one that's becoming a big one is an antivirus scan. A caller claims to work for Windows or Microsoft. They say they've detected a virus or issues with your computer. They will either then install an antivirus program, one you can normally get for free, and charge you $250. Some prices can be more, some can be less. Or they'll install a malware so they can control your computer remotely and steal your personal information. Another case study is a senior had come in, received an email, had received a phone call, and had been pressured sending money. Unfortunately, that person lost out on some money. The bank tried to do as much as they could for that person, but that is becoming another big one, is the antivirus scam. Usually, I've heard that it can be a foreign accent in the background, and then they start talking, and it's hard to understand them at times, and then before you know it, you've signed up for something that you don't know what it is. I know that the computer one, calling you, letting you know that your computer has been a problem. I've had that personally. Someone calling me saying my computer's a problem. I'm like, well, isn't that spectacular? But it's not. And you just end up hanging up. Come on. Phishing is another one, okay, and it targets a mass amount of people. It tricks you into disclosing personal and financial information. Phishing is a common online scam designed to trick you into disclosing your personal and financial information. It's huge, and anyone can be targeted. And if you ever received an email or phone call where a bank or a major store wants you to verify a password or provide confidential information urgently, it means you've been targeted, because the banks will never ask you for personal information. Anytime you get a phone call saying that your card has been compromised, whether it's your Visa card or your client card, and they leave you a 1-800 number or some type of phone number to call back, every bank card has a 1-800 number on the back of it. Every Visa card has a 1-800 number on the back of it. Call that number. If they talk to you on the phone, you say, "Thank you very much, I'll get back to you." Hang up and call that number. Let them know that you have received a phone call saying, my card, I've been notified, has been compromised. Is this correct or not? The bank employees can go into the system and they can say, "Yes, we did make that phone call. We are letting you know it's been compromised," or "No, we never made that phone call." So it's always best, as I said, to call the number on the back of your bank card and your Visa card to verify before you do anything else. Now, this is an example of a phishing email. It'll tell you, it says here, "Dear client, the Royal Bank," and so on and so forth. Now, the phishing emails often begin with a generic greeting of a "dear client." And some emails, it'll refer to a problem with your account. And there's often a sense of urgency in the email, encouraging you to respond immediately. Many emails have links that look valid but lead to a fake website. So this is a fake one, because you'll never receive an email to your personal email from the Royal Bank or any other banks. Okay? If there is, I've seen a lot of those, then just print it off. You can bring it into us at the bank, or it can go to the police station. Okay, the other example, and they're saying that this is a tip, which I didn't know, but if you move your mouse to the top of the email box there, and the web address in the box is often different from what you see in the email, and the link is often a fake site. Okay, Ponzi schemes, usually high returns promised, no detailed statements, pressure to reinvest your returns, and then hide that they're not licensed to sell securities. So that would be more if private people come to your house or give you a phone call and then you agree to meet them. Oftentimes those are Ponzi schemes, okay? And to avoid such a scheme, beware of the claims of a guaranteed investment from the above average returns, and always ensure you receive a written statement to see underlying investment details. And you should do a background check too. Again, most seniors are very, very up to date with identity and protecting themselves. That chances are, if they receive a phone call, we've had people come in saying, "You know, I received a phone call from a different company. I've never heard of it. Have you?" Oftentimes we can go and check it out. We'll ask other staff members, or we can look into it and get back to you. Online and telephone banking fraud, that's another big one. Online banking, a lot of seniors are doing it today, and obviously a lot of young people, but it's a secure way of doing your banking, keeping track of your finances. But you need to protect your passwords as well as your usernames. So some banks require that you enter your username with your client card number, so the full number on it, and then you have a password. You can always change your password on your online banking as often as you want. You don't want other people trying to hack into that, and that can be a problem. It's best to use your home computer where you're likely to install an appropriate antivirus software or spyware, and use secure online banking kiosks available. Some of the bigger centers do have, they're called retail branches, and they do have private kiosks that people can go in and do their online banking. The Simcoe branch doesn't have that, nor does Dover, but big centers in like Cambridge, Toronto, Kitchener, they have those types of things. And remember that financial advisors will never ask for your password or your PIN number. The PIN number is your number. We do not have copies of it. So when you come into the branch and you ask us that you want to change your PIN number, we'll either do it right at our wickets and have you sign a piece of paper, has our signature on it as well as yours, and it states that you have been into the bank to change your PIN number, and we then send it down to our center, and there's a record copy of it. Or we will take you out to the machine. You can always do your PIN number in the machine, and you get a slip. And in that slip, it'll give you the time, the date, it tells you you've changed your PIN number, and then it gives you a few other things on the sheet, and you want to keep those sheets as well. Because if something happens and you say, you know, you've lost your bank card, it's been stolen, or you've changed your PIN number, then you have a record of it, and you want to keep that record. Never tell others to use your username or secret access code when you're on telephone, and use a secure location if you're going to make any telephone banking calls, which is oftentimes your home. You want to make sure you call from the phone at home if you want to do any telephone banking. Okay. Now, as I said, debit card fraud is a huge thing. Okay. You want to choose a PIN number that's unique, and never use a telephone number. And don't use a birth date. You can do a combination of numbers and letters. You can have a maximum of 4, or a minimum of 4, sorry, and a maximum of 32 when you do your PIN